Hey, coaches. Just want to spend a few minutes talking a little bit about terminology and some of the basic rules of play here at LTYA. There's a much more exhaustive list of all of our rules up on the ltya.org website, but I wanted to cover some of the ones after the first week of play just as kind of a gentle reminder. So, first about terminology. There's lots of different terms within soccer. The most important ones that I would really like you to focus on are the end line, which is the goal line. So if we're talking about the line all the way over here on the left, right, that is the end line, or we most commonly called the goal line, but we tend to use the term end line. And then the touch line, which is the sideline. So those are kind of the two most important ones. Other ones you obviously should be familiar with are the halfway line, the center circle, which is primarily used to have the defending team back away a certain distance for kickoffs. And then there's the penalty box and the goal box area. So as we get into U4 and U5, we're spending just a few minutes talking about coaching zones and kind of where you can stand and just some basic gist of play, right? So for U4, U5, the coaches, you're on the field. We're in some ways herding cats, and it can be difficult to coach these kids that are 3 and 4 years old. So we really expect you to be on the field, helping corral all of the children and make sure they're playing in the right direction. They're going towards the opposing goals. They're in the field of play, and if the ball leaves the field of play, right, we really just want to return the ball in. Kids don't have any idea how to do kick-ins or especially not throw-ins at these younger ages. So we really just want to return the ball to play, and we want to encourage the kids that are on the defending team not to stand in the goal box, right? They're really not learning much there. It can be hard, of course, but anything you can do to encourage them to get out of that kind of goal box area and not be goalkeeping would be great. If it becomes a big issue, just pick them up, move them off to the side, and they'll figure it out pretty fast. For U6 and U7, it's a little bit different, right? These players are a little bit older. We're talking about 5 and 6 year olds. Really, what you should try to do as coaches is kind of stay to the sides, right? That coaching zone is more along the sidelines. Now, you don't have to be on the sideline. I'm not expecting you to be there. These still are 5 and 6 year olds, but you should be more to the side. If you find yourself in the middle of the field or in front of a goal, you are in the wrong spot. You need to move out of that and move back to the sides. If you are standing in the goal box, it's really hard for kids to, number one, kick around you and they see you in your coach's shirt, your red shirt, and you look like an opposing player. So move to the sidelines. Again, none of your players should be standing in the goal. If they are, we ask that you move them out of there. We do not want to have goalkeepers standing in the middle of the goal. Opposing coaches, feel free to talk to the other coach and just gently remind them. But if you're going to have players that are standing in the goal, you need to get them out of there. Can't say it enough. From the end line, we really do want you to do goal kicks. These players are old enough that they should be able to do a goal kick. And at the beginning of the season, do kick-ins from the touchline. So again, you might call it the sideline, but from the touchline, start with kick-ins. And as you progress through the season and we get about halfway through the season, players are starting to become more comfortable and you can start to introduce throw-ins, right? Keep both feet planted on the ground, take the ball and put it all the way over the back of your head and throw the ball in. They're going to jump, they're going to drag their feet, they're going to do things, but we want to start to introduce the idea of throw-ins in U6. U7, the only difference here is we, again, hopefully from U6, have started teaching the idea of throw-ins. We do throw-ins in U7 from the touchline. Everything else pretty much remains the same. What about U8? Well, coaches and the whole team are on one side of the field, parents and family are on the other side. Your coaching zone is the sideline. You are no longer allowed to be on the field. If you are on the field, you will be asked to leave. If you do not leave the field, we will remove you from the fields. So please stay on your sideline. The only people that should be on the field are going to be the players and the referees. If you need to come onto the field for some reason, you need to be asking the referee. But in the case of injuries, referees will flag you and wave you onto the field to come deal with the player. If they don't see it, just simply, hey, ref, there's a player down, and we will stop play and we will tend to those players. But there is no reason for you to be on the field of play. Quick reminder about goalies. When a goalie picks up the ball or it's a goal kick, the defending team, as highlighted in the red circles, must retreat outside of the penalty box. The attacking team, as denoted by the blue triangles and the goalie in the yellow triangle, they do not have to leave the penalty box on a goal kick or when the goalie has the ball. They can remain in the penalty box area. Now, that being said, word of wise to you coaches, do not stack your players outside of the penalty box along with the opposing team. You're setting yourself up for what we call a 50-50 ball, right? The opposing team has just as much chance to get that ball as you do. What you can see in this diagram is I've placed two of the players, one to the outside of the goalie box area, still inside the penalty box where the opposing team cannot touch the ball, and it also allows me to spread the field. And what I mean by that is the opposing team is going to want to spread out to try to mark up those players. And by doing that, it creates more opportunities for us to, number one, not have 50-50 balls, but when we spread out, it now opens it up to where we can start to have better passing. So just a word to the wise. Again, we kind of talked a little bit about terminology with the end line, the touch line, halfway line. The other term you're going to learn in U9 and U10 is the build-out line. The build-out line is designed to cut the field into thirds. So you have the defending third, the middle third, and the attacking third. And the idea around the build-out line is that we want to give more the attacking team, when they have possession of the ball, the opportunity to build out of the back. And what I mean by that is all of the, again, much like in U8 where they're outside of the goal or the penalty box, they have to retreat completely behind the build out line. So if the goalie picks up the ball, the opposing team must retreat behind that build out line. Now the goalie could throw that ball immediately and all players could come back in. But if they hold on to that ball, the opposing team all has to retreat behind that ball. And same thing on a goal kick. They all have to retreat back. Again, U9, U10 coaches, do not stack up all your players on the build out line. You are not doing yourself any favors. You can play your players anywhere behind that build out line. Spread some out on each side of the field. Again, that's going to force the opposing team to spread out more. And you can be inside the penalty box or in the goal box area as well for goal kicks. The idea here is that goalie can make a quick pass to one of their players, and then you can start to build up. And so as you move forward from the back, the players in the front are going to move toward the opposing goal, and it spreads out the field of play and gives them more opportunities to make passes and make better decisions. So that's just a little bit about build out line. If you ever have questions about build out line ideas and strategy, you're always welcome to email your age group coordinator, or you can email us just at soccer@ltya.org. The last thing I want to do is talk about learning opportunities for teams. One of the things that always happens throughout the season is that we get players and teams that just kind of, hey, they're amazing. We won our first game, 10-0, or we won our games consistently 14-0. There's two things you need to remember. Number one, scores for the most part shouldn't matter, right? We're here to teach these kids the proper technique. We're not toe poking the ball. We're using our laces to kick. We're passing with the ankle area of our legs. We're dribbling with our pinky toes. We want to teach the fundamentals the right way. And scoring, while great and kids love, is not the only thing that we should be looking for. We should be looking for those learning opportunities, right? But for where it does matter, in U8, U9, and U10, where we do have tournaments and score can matter, we also want to be mindful of the other teams, right? Yes, we want to win our games. We want to have better seating for the tournament, but the score isn't the only thing, right? So what happens when our team is up by a lot? And this applies to any age group, right? My son is a U7 team. Doesn't matter what the score is, but once we start getting up by a couple of points, and we can kind of see, hey, maybe this other team isn't quite as skilled as some of our players, what can we do to make it learning, right? Just scoring goals, we're not learning anything. The opposing team isn't learning anything because they get dejected, right? These are young kids. They're going to look at that and say, man, I'm just not winning. Oh, I don't want to be here anymore. And they shut down, right? So the first thing I do is kind of my level one is, all right, establish we're going to pass. We need to pass 3 times before we can take any shot on goal. Or maybe it's 4 or 5 passes, whatever number you want to come up with for your team. The opposing team touches the ball. I've gotten 2 passes. They touch the ball. We reset and we do another 3 passes. And we do this. And if we score a goal, we move up to level 2. And so now what we've done is we've incremented up the number of passes to 4 or 5 or 6. At this point, once we've done this a couple of times, we're probably not scoring goals anymore. But what are we doing? We're learning how to find space out on the field, and we're learning to pass to each other, which is a fundamental skill we want them to learn. But maybe you're still scoring. All right, hey, this is a great opportunity to start working on passing out of the back, right? I'm on the left side of the field, and I want to pass to the right. Well, there's going to be players between me and there because we're moving in a line generally. If I pass back to my defenders or I pass back to my goalie, there's nobody back there because everybody's kind of following where the ball is. I can pass it to the middle of the field to a defender, and they can change the direction and pass to the other side of the field. So working on passing out of the back is the next step that I tend to work on. And again, once we've done this, we are probably limiting ourselves a lot in terms of the number of goals that we're going to make, if any. And if we're still able to score a goal and we're still really dominating, the last thing that I tend to do, and again, this is typically more for the older teams, is I rotate my players. Players generally are having a pretty good sense of where they gravitate to. Some players want to be in offense, some want to be in defense, but rotate them. And by moving players that are not comfortable in offense, that are always on defense, you're creating new opportunities for them to learn different positions that maybe they'll take and gravitate to. And same thing for the offensive players. They're learning how to be a defensive-minded player, which benefits them in like one-on-one situations when they are on offense. If you do all of this, and the opposing team starts to score, you can start moving down levels, right? Don't just stay and rotate players and keep working on passing out of the back. If they start scoring a whole lot of goals, you move down levels. But again, you will naturally work to some level of equilibrium. Typically, if you go through these 4 levels, you're not going to be scoring goals, but they're going to be learning and they're going to be having a ton of fun. So I hope you enjoyed the short video. If you have any questions, you can email us at soccer@ltya.org. But thank you and have a fantastic day.